In this video, I'm going to be talking about annotations in Flourish and how annotations work. I think that this is something that's a little bit tricky because it's different than in other charting tools. But once you get your head around it, it's really quite straightforward and it's quite powerful. So quite a few Flourish templates allow you to add annotations to your charts to sort of call attention to different parts of the visualization. And the way these are done is either along the x-axis or along the y-axis. So if you have x-axis annotations, they're sort of vertical annotations. If they're along the y-axis, they're sort of horizontal annotations. And I'm going to be showing you how they work along the x-axis, but just know that it works pretty much exactly the same along the y. So in a lot of templates, like here in the line bar and pie charts template, you'll have this annotations settings block under the settings panel. And you'll just have to click this to show all the options and turn them on. So in Flourish, there's two different types of annotations. There's line annotations and there's range annotations, and they work pretty similarly, but line is just adding a line, and then a range is just adding sort of a range of values that are sort of highlighted. So what you do is you take the value along the axis, so whatever, 2013, let's say, and you would say like annotation 1 text here, so whatever you wanted to put, or if you didn't want to put anything, you can just put a space, and then 2 semicolons and 2013, and it's going to add that right here. And you can change the color, you can change the width. If you just want the text and not the line, you can change the width to 0. And if you, the sort of default is a dash line, but if you want just a solid line, you can change the dash to 0 as well. And so range works really similarly. So if I wanted to put a range highlight between 2014 and 2016, I would put range highlight text 1 here, and then I would put 2 semicolons, and then 2014, and then 2 of these, 2016. And that adds a sort of range, which you can see here, this sort of like transparent box. You can change the opacity, so I can make it completely opaque. You can also put the sort of text above or below, or sorry, you can put the highlight above or below the data behind it, the lines. And yeah, I think that's basically it. It works the same along the x-axis, y-axis, so if you wanted to add those, you just go straight at it right there. And hopefully that sort of clears up how to add annotations. I know it's something that people ask a lot about because it's a little bit of a quirky feature, but once you get the hang of it, hopefully it will make a lot of sense. Hello and welcome back. In this video, I'm going to talk about color and how to customize the color of things in a Flourish template. So the first thing you should know is that pretty much everything on this screen, the color of it can be changed using different settings over here on the right. The main sort of color tool that we have in Flourish is this color paletting tool. So you can see now that this is sort of selected as the color palette, and we have a whole different range of color palettes in here that are preset. So you can click through them and it'll change the colors. If you go down to edit color palette, you can also rearrange the order of the colors. So if you want them to be a different order, if you want to pull one from lower down, up in, you can see it change behind there. You can also add your own colors. So if you want to add black on there, or you can edit these. So if I wanted to make this first color on the bottom red instead of yellow. Then there's also this color overrides option, which lets you type in the name of an entity and then type in color after it, and it will override the color palette. So for example, if I wanted to recolor this United Kingdom category, I would type in United Kingdom, which is the name of the entity, and then just pink, and it'll change this to pink. This can either be an HTML color name like we have there, or also an RGB color or a hex code. Also know that everything else on this template is pretty much, there should be a color settings for it. So for example, the x-axis, if I wanted to change the color of the lines, we can do that. And this is just sort of a normal color picker. Same with the labels. This is hideous, but there you go. And then the second thing I wanted to talk about was coloring by category. And to sort of explain this, I'm going to use the scatter template because it's pretty, makes it pretty clear. But here we have a scatter plot, and it's showing literacy rate on one axis and GDP per capita on the other, and each of the dots are countries. And so this just sort of shows, that as the GDP goes up, literacy rate goes up in countries generally. But these are all obviously the same color. And if I go through, it's just going to pick this, well, they're being colored by this default picker actually. But if I go back to the data sheet, you'll notice that there's actually extra metadata here, which I could use to color the dots differently. So in a lot of Flourish templates, like the scatter, there's going to be this column setting called color here, which allows you to color the dots based on what's in a column. Usually it's a metadata column, but you can also use sort of continuous columns. So the darker the color, the larger the continuous value. But in this case, we're going to use this B column. So I'm just going to enter this B column here. And now once I press enter, watch this in the corner, and it's going to show the dots are suddenly going to be colored by what's in this column. So if we go back, you can see that these sort of hot pink dots are Sub-Saharan Africa, and then the dark blue dots are Western Europe, the purple dots are Eastern Europe, and this just adds another dimension to your scatter plot. It helps you see, how this trend is broken down by region. And yeah, I think that's about it. Thanks for listening, and I hope that helps you understand a little bit about how color works in Flourish.